Hello, everybody. We are back on that spiritual podcast. I'm very excited to bring a very interesting topic that is very new to me, but very, I want to say old to Marti, but that's not really the right word.
I'm old. I'm fine. I'm good with it. We're going to talk about goddesses. We're just going to touch on it. We're not going to do any practices. We're going to work on talk about, like the preconceptions. There's a lot of stigma around it, which we talked about before, because I said goddesses to you and I used the word dark goddesses.
She used
because that's who I tend to work with.
I think you said the word Lilith and I was like, right, nah, I'm out.
And we talked before about, Phoebe's not wanting to go over onto the dark side, and I'm not on the dark side, so the stigma is real though, right? You know me and you still went, oh my god, what?
Yeah, I was, because in my head, so when I think of goddesses, I think of a beautiful glowing goddess woman, right?
You're thinking Aphrodite.
I'm thinking Aphrodite. Like, I would love to, she can work with me anytime, happy, right? You come forward, fine. But when you start naming some of the other goddesses, I'm kind of sat there like, well, this is taking a plot twist. Like, this feels a bit
gone the wrong way.
And she's, you're like, oh yeah, and I've had this experience and I was burning from inside with Callie. And I just think, right, that's not that makes me nervous.
And I think there's that going on. So a lot of people have preconceptions. It's just an energy exchange.
Yeah.
So with anything like this, I would love the idea of a goddess sitting halfway up a mountain with somebody feeding her grapes.
Beautiful.
Ideally a fit man or woman. Not in specific. But that's not the reality. The reality is it's just an energy, and energy exists in every way, shape and form around this world.
Yeah.
Some people choose to work with a goddess specifically. And again, we talked about calling. I started working in a witchcraft way and just sort of read Hecate is the goddess of witches. I was like, cool, I'll petition her, which is the word for saying, hi,
hello,
do you want to work with me? But I'm not giving my soul. There's no blood. There's nothing weird like all the rules would have you believe.
I joke that you sacrificed goats.
Yes, goats died in this transition. Yeah, so I called her, and all I did was every time I do a working, like manifesting or releasing, all the normal stuff that we do, I'd call her to come and stand with me and do it with me so that I feel held.
Yeah.
Right. So I would do exactly the same thing with an ancestor. I would do exactly the same thing with a spirit guide.
Yeah.
So it's just an energy that exists, and some of them have better purposes. So like Hecate is a really good seer. If I want to see further vision, if I want to meditate and see what's coming, she would be a good one to work with. And so I was using the actual energy that exists within that archetype, almost, if you want to call it a Hecate archetype, which feels disrespectful. You do have to learn about them and respect who they are.
It's like when you said to me about you don't walk into a room and just expect everyone to work with you. You have to go in and say, hi, I'm Marti. I'm ready to work with you. I really respect the stuff you do. Like,
Shall we? Shall we do this together?
Ready to tango.
And so, that's very prevalent. Once you start to get into the realms of other names, I mean, some of the ones that trigger people are Lilith.
Yeah.
Because religion has taught us that, she's a bit of a bad egg.
Well, all you have to do is watch Sabrina on Netflix, and Lilith is not, the best of the bunch, really.
Satan.
There we go. She scares me.
Satan's not real either. I'm not working with him. So, really and truly, goddess work is about working with energies that exist. Understanding which ones would serve you in the moment is more my practice, but some people prefer to just really immerse and work with one person. There's a lot of gatekeeping around it. I found a lot of people saying, oh, you can't mess with it, don't play with it. Well, I wouldn't suggest you play with any spiritual energy. You have to meet it respectfully.
Absolutely.
And I do think if you're working with any of the gods or goddesses, I work with goddesses, but occasionally the odd god pipes up, and I'm happy to work in that realm. You need to go and find the correspondences with that. What do they like? I give Hecate a cake. I know there's other things I can give.
I love that.
Lilith,
that's so gentle.
Lilith, I'll sit and have a glass of wine with. And I joke, and I'm like, little wine for the universe, big wine for me. So she's not really drinking it, guys. FYI. It's an energy exchange.
Do you do that as well, Marty? I'm asking this because I don't know. Do you do that on like an altar space? So you set the space for if you're going to work with Lilith and you put the wine there for her and it's that kind of thing?
You can do, and like with any spiritual practice, you must create a safe space. So
Yeah.
whether you ground, center and shield,
Yeah.
you can then potentially cast a circle. If you're doing a ritual, I would cast a circle.
Yeah.
And once I've cast a circle and I'm safe in it, then I would do what I call invoke. So
Yeah.
I call in
Yeah.
like my spirit guides and any deity that I want to work with, any goddess or god that I want to work with that would serve the purpose of the ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
at certain times of the year, I would call certain people in, whereas there's sort of backup people that I know are good. So I know Hecate is a brilliant seer. She can also travel all the world.
Yeah.
I know Persephone is the goddess of spring, but she's also the queen of hell. That's duality.
There we go. Exactly.
If I want to work in duality, she would probably be my choice. Lilith is all about female empowerment. She's like, you're a bad bitch, you can go and get it.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work with her when I'm working my business, when I'm trying to drive it forward. Very harmonious, very supportive. And then you've got one, you know, nicer ones like Venus is obviously the goddess of love.
Yeah.
Freya is love and war.
Yeah, it's exactly, which is like polar opposites, aren't they? Yeah.
So, you know, what is it you're doing? I would personally call the right goddess for the job in.
Yeah.
And make an offering just to say thank you. The same way I'd say thank you to you if you came and worked with me and helped me do a practice.
Yeah.
So for me, it's no more sinister than that. And you can either invoke or evoke. So you can either call them to come work with you. Yeah. Or you can call them to work within you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Then so I'm like,
So then you're into the channeling.
Yeah, to channel them. Yeah. And isn't it interesting though that like how you've just explained that, especially like the being the duality of like two things, we again base so many of our beliefs on like these goddess names, especially the big names like the buzz names like Lilith, on films or what we've been told. It's never actually through experience. It's just our instant reaction to be like, no, that's dangerous.
Well, I had that. So I was telling you before, and I'll tell these guys, the first goddess that actually called me was through crows. I kept seeing crows, loads of crows everywhere, black crows literally sitting outside my house, staring my house out. I was like, what the hell? Where have these guys come from? And so I just Googled, I love Google, Google's your friend, crows. And it was like spirit animal, or, you know, like the nesting sites. Yeah. And then a bit of the way down the page, it came up with Morrigan. Yeah. And I was like, oh, instinctively knew, because I trust my intuition. We've had that conversation on so many podcasts. Instinctively knew it wasn't a spirit animal. No. It was definitely Morrigan. Yeah. So I sat in meditation and went, thanks ever so much for your call. However, not really interested. You seem a bit deathy. Yeah. Because the Morrigan's job is to look over battlefields and pick the warriors. There we go. Send to Valhalla, amongst other things. So read up on her and I thought, oh no, I don't think she's a bit of me.
Scares me.
Like, no thanks. And so I sat meditation and said thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. And sort of kept getting these crows, kept getting it. And I sat again and I was like, look, let's talk then, you know. And all of this is just in my mind. I might be crazy, I've got voices in my head, but you know, intuitively I just got the message, are we doing this or not? I was like, oh Christ, well, you know, it feels like an ultimatum now. I don't like to miss out on anything.
Now I feel like I should, because you've asked me that.
I feel like they got me on FOMO.
They knew your weak spot, Marty.
If they'd have dared me, that would have worked as well. So just knowing that, actually, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but all right then. And then actually she's been quite present throughout my entire journey, and I still call her every time I open a circle. I call her to protect it.
It's interesting.
But I'll call the other ones to work with.
Yeah. And I guess as well, like you said, it's just allowing yourself to explore what works best for you with what you need at the time.
Absolutely. The same way I would choose my crystals to work with the project or the passion or the manifesting or the meditating that I'm doing. You know, I wouldn't go into a meditation with a red crystal. No. I wouldn't go into a relationship manifestation with anybody other than Freya or
Yeah.
Aphrodite or Venus, depending on which way I'm going at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if I was in your situation and pregnant, you know, I would be working with Vesta to protect my family and home.
There we go. She can come forward.
Yeah, who's a lesser known one. She's really gentle.
Yeah.
So, you
Sounds
know,
like
not everything has to be Medusa level.
Yeah.
You know, although I do love Medusa.
I have actually done some bits with Medusa before.
Yeah, she's a bad bitch.
She is a bad bitch. But do you know what? And it's interesting considering I'm such a scared person.
I'm so scared, but I've worked with Medusa.
Truly. Do you know, but it came out of nowhere. It was, and I've never really explored working with different goddesses and things like that. But it came up and it kept coming to me, like you said, a calling, right? And it was like everywhere I looked was stuff about Medusa. Then it was coming up on my feed about Medusa. Then somebody said something about Medusa. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens. And I actually, when I worked with her, which was very briefly, I embodied some part of me that gave me a new level of fire, like where I felt some type of inner protectiveness and rage towards protecting women that I didn't have before. It didn't exist in me
Medusa
before.
bought the same thing for her name.
Literally. And that's when I started my sisterhood collective. It's really interesting.
So now you're working out that you've actually
I have worked with goddesses. Yeah, I'm a liar.
But this is the thing, you see, unless you know what you're looking for, you might just feel like it's a calling or a spirit message, which it is. But just from a different source. And you know, a lot of the time, like Callie did come in quite unkindly. She did burn me from the inside. I thought it was a Smurf. Yeah, that's so a little bit intense. I've seen Smurfs, but Callie is actually blue. She wasn't a Smurf. We had a little apology about being so disrespectful.
Yeah, let's not disrespect Callie.
Sorry, love. I'll get a sword and put it on my altar. That's completely normal when people come in my house. So, you know, really and truly, other goddesses have come in and they've given me a backbone. As I call them in to stand with me, I feel my physical body shift straighter. Suddenly I'm sitting up and they've literally gone, you're not strong enough. I'll put a backbone in there. Or they'll drop into my sacral, like my womb space. Or, you know, the same in men. This isn't women specific. I'm just a woman, so I'm explaining how I felt it. And so they'll drop into that space and it will literally be, here we go, you know, and they'll fire you up. Like you say, you feel impassioned.
Yes. Like it gave me a new level of embodiment in what I needed to do. Like it was for the next level.
It does level you up.
Yeah, it was interesting. And actually, until we've had this conversation now, that's never even occurred to me. I thought I just, you know, explored it, did a little bit of a meditation, journaled a little bit about Medusa, about her, you know, inner feelings, my feelings, and then felt differently afterwards. But now we've spoken about it, I've realised, oh, actually.
And so, you know, it could be as big or as little as you want it to be. And I think a lot of people say, oh, don't mess with what you don't understand. And I'm an advocate of that.
100%, yeah.
So I would do some research first. But I do think these callings happen more frequently than we realise. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people go looking. There are certain goddesses that you can petition, and gods, you know, that you can ask them. You don't have to wait to be asked. It's not a dance back in the 1950s. You know, but you have to meet them with respect.
Yeah. And that's important.
I'm saying them, but I mean their energy. You have to meet their energy with respect. The same way we would energy exchange with a person on this earth.
Same way with spirit. If you're channeling, you know, loved ones, there's again, it's that it's respectful. It's not like demanding, this is what I want. Hello, I'm, you know, the big boss. And
absolutely. And I think that's important to know. And I think that's why I started sort of bringing it forward, because there was a lot of judgment. I get a lot of attacks. You know, somebody told me I was damning my kids to hell.
Yeah,
I was like, really? And that's one of the kind of things that I heard. You know, a lot of people are scared by what I say, by what I do, and they've no need to be.
It's just conditioning, isn't it?
It's just
through what we think we know.
Ignorance, but also you're bringing what you think you know, but it's not factual. So that's why I think it's so important that people like us talk about stuff 100%. Like this, and, you know, provide safe environments for people to play with it.
Yes, which you do. You have your goddess retreats, you have all different things you do.
Yeah, this podcast coming out before my actual weekend retreat. So if you're interested, drop me a message. I'm running a retreat in Blackpool from the 4th to the 6th. So that's 4th to 6th of August. It's £199. I'm always happy to say the price because
There
it's
we
a
go.
bargain.
It is for what you'll get from it. It's
and
huge.
that's that includes your accommodation, your breakfast, not dinner. You have to come to the pub with me, all the hardship,
which is even more fun.
But yeah, so I'm going to do a full weekend of like practices. Like, here's this one, come meet her. Here's this one, come meet her. And you know, let's have a work with it, see how it feels, see if it feels authentic to you, if you can tap into it, or if it does nothing for you, because some of them will do nothing for you.
It just depends what you need,
and you might not need them right now.
And
then later in the year there'll be workshops, but you'll have to follow, because I haven't set those dates.
Follow Marti and you'll see all of the stuff.
But you know, you can follow people online as well. There's so many people do this kind of work. Just don't buy into the fear factor. You're not suddenly going to get taken over. I've literally had 0 takings over happen. There's been no nastiness. I've had to donate no blood or goats. And everything so far has been fine.
No animals were harmed in the making of Marti's goddess exploration.
And not come across Satan at all.
So
0 Satans. So, you know, there's a lot of preconceptions. Don't buy into the hype.
And that I feel quite settled in that. The more you talk about it, the more I feel comfortable with it. I was originally only so scared of it because of conditioning of what those names were. Absolutely.
Well, if you listen, you know, Lilith was a baby stealer back in the Dark Ages. Well, you know, if we can keep, there's always this belief I have, just bring a bit of belief before I finish on a big note, but I think we've been kept small.
Yes, we have. Very small. And
so these are the type of power changing energies. And it's not about oppressing anybody.
No.
It's not about, you know, switching from a patriarchy to a matriarchy.
No.
But for me, it's about empowering women and feeling your own level of empowerment for your divine feminine or your divine masculine if you're a man, and being able to step up to your full potential. And I think that's what it brings forward for me. Plus, I can use it for healing.
There's so many uses. So many.
You know, I can go down, I told you once, didn't I can go down into a basement with a goddess and get them to hold me while I process in a child work.
And your shadow work. Yeah, exactly.
So, you know,
I don't know why you choose a basement, but still, you know, this is where we don't meet eye to eye. Why a basement? Put a light on.
A candle. But you know, so actually this is really usable energy. The other one I do, if I'm halfway through an exercise class, you ever got halfway through and thought, oh my god, I'm gonna die, why did I sign up for this? I'll channel the Valkyries.
There we go.
To get me through the other half of the class. And suddenly I'm smashing it. I came out the first time I ever did that. I could walk for 2 days afterwards. I felt so hard.
Not even you that was exercising, like channeled this warrior energy.
So, you know, you can use it in all sorts of scenarios. Just to hold your space with you. And, you know, to make what you need to achieve in that moment happen with a bit more support.
Absolutely. I think it's incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. I'll add some links as well onto this podcast for your goddess stuff.
I do.
And anyone has questions about any more in-depth knowledge, Marti can obviously direct
I love
you.
a question.
She loves a question. And she does all of this kind of work. So reach out to Marti. And see how she can help you.
I'd be delighted. But otherwise, just enjoy your own journey. And I'm so proud of you for stepping in and stepping up and hitting your next level, which I know you will.
Amazing.
Cool. Take care, guys.
We'll see you soon. Bye.